Hi everyone, thanks so much for joining us. We are here to talk about our project, Security Guidance as a Service, which is basically how we are democratizing security guidance across different platforms. Little bit about ourselves. I'm Chandrani. I work at Adobe as a security engineer. I'm in this space for about 10 years now.
Hi everyone, I'm Shruti Datta Gupta. I'm a product security engineer at Adobe, been in this space for over 5 years.
So let's talk a little bit about why we did this project, right? What is the gap that we felt and that drove us to the project? Now we know, like, for scalability has always been an issue when it comes to providing guidance to developers, right? Like, because for most of the organizations, the security to developer ratio, it's really low. So when it comes to, like, giving one-on-one guidance or whatever they're looking for, exact information, so it really becomes a challenge. It really becomes a bandwidth issue. And then, like, for most of the companies, there are various security process, right? If it's like an established security program that you have, we have like design reviews, we have threat modeling, like in the beginning, then we have multiple scanners running, code scanners and things like that. And then on the right, you have the vulnerability scanning and everything. So the security researcher or partners, they are basically giving similar information, but on various different platforms, right? And then finally, fragmented documentation. So this is like security champions or SMEs, they create all these, security docs and whatnot. What are the policy that so-and-so needs to follow? What's the secret storage that we need to follow? But then, is it reaching the right person at the right time, right? Otherwise, the information becomes stale. So now AI, with the evolution of AI, it's like a game changer, right? We all are like on a rocket space, and so basically it understands the natural language. We don't have to write complex SQL queries and all that to make it understand, okay, this is what I want. And but then when we ask something to AI, like if I can ask very generic questions, right? What are the authentication that I need to follow, right? So it would give you a very generic answer that, a generic solution to the problem it would give you, right? It will not give like what are your platform standards, what are the things that, functions or methods that your company is following. And then finally, there is always a risk of, hallucinated guidance, right? Like when there is a lot of information given to AI, there is always a risk of, hallucinated guidance. So, what we built here is a security bot, or you can call it like a security, service. So basically the idea is it will be platform agnostic. So be it over, Slack channel, or be it in Jira tickets or automated threat modeling guidance, it will give a seemingly same guidance across all platforms with various different types of, whatever the inputs it's coming. And all these guidances should come from a common store, right? Everything should come from a central guidance store, and those should have vetted information. So this was basically the mission that we started this project with. So let's talk about the journey that we started this project, this entire pipeline, or the security guidance as a service that we are talking about 1.5 years before, right? And it did not really start like how it exists today. So obviously, we needed, the org-specific information, bringing it to the people at the right time. So we started with a RAG solution, right? We took a very curated docs, and we put it in the vector store. So that is giving us a very organization-specific guidance. And initially, it was integrated into the Jira ticket flow, because that was like the, for Adobe, we have all the vulnerabilities, so those have SLAs and everything we have to meet. So the first place that we integrated was the Jira. And almost at the same time, it was also integrated in the Slack workflow as well. Because we felt like, okay, people are also coming and asking whatever the same information, maybe they will not have access to the Jira ticket, so they should have, there should be somewhere else also they need to have the same information. And then we soon realized, like I was saying, there are multiple processes for security, right? There is threat modeling, there are IDE guidance now coming up. So the same information would basically be needed for multiple different systems. So should we build separate RAGs? Obviously not, right? So we need to build basically a common vector store that would provide information to all these systems. And it should be like platform agnostic. And then we realized, like initially when we started with the docs for the vulnerability guidance, the number of docs were really less. So even though we had the automation for creating embeddings, putting it in the vector store, for those we had automation, but then they were one-off scripts. And even before that, we had to take the PDF content, right? Like whatever would go behind the vector store, even whatever is ingest worthy, we had to take that piece and make it ready. So there was a little bit of manual work, we would say, that was involved even at this stage. So we realized that we need something that is called automated document ingestion pipeline, right? So what it would do is, if I have an URL, it will automatically take the content and put it in the vector store. If there has been a change in the URL, that also it would scan through like time to time for the content updates, and it will put it in the vector store. And then obviously, like whatever the common vector store endpoints that we built, that is serviced in multiple security process. Like we have an automated threat modeling guidance, threat modeling platform at Adobe. So there also it's being serviced. There is currently we have developed in-ID security guidance through an MCP server. So there also it is providing the same solution. We'd like to talk about the document curation workflow, how we built it. So the initial thing is, first, we started with the security champions or SMEs, whoever is creating the doc. And we imagined that all this, whatever doc is going in the back end, that should exist as a metadata file in a Git repo, right? So the Git repo will be the source of truth. So once basically someone gives that metadata file, these are some small information that we are taking about that, the URL that we are going to process. Once that is done, we quickly validate the metadata and do a PR merge. Once that is done, it goes to an upstream service, which is a downloader service. It's basically a pub/sub model, so it listens to the Git diffs. So whenever it sees like, okay, this particular metadata has a difference, so I need to take this particular URL and take the content. There is also a cron job involved here, because whatever other URLs that we are saying that has already been ingested, we are also, time to time checking, like, has there been any update in that content? And then it goes to the upstream service, which is the ingester. This basically takes it and puts it into the vector store, like generates embeddings and puts it into the vector store. So once this is done, we put the message in a Slack channel saying that this document has been ingested. And after this, we trigger an eval workflow. So this eval workflow is basically when we collect the metadata, we ask for a reference data set, right? Like for the document that you are giving, what is say 3-4 question and answers that you can say we can refer to as reference or an ideal data set answers. And once these are ingested, we would test it against like how much correctness, what's the relevancy of the answers and things like that. So this is on one side, like the document ingestion pipeline. Now the core architecture for the security guidance service. So as I was talking about, it is servicing multiple different platforms. So the input can come from maybe a Jira ticket. So what's the guidance for a vulnerability? Maybe it can come from maybe a threat modeling platform, like what would be my like these are the threats that have been identified, what would be the recommendation? It can come just from a chatbot, a very simple security questions, right? So everything goes to an AI orchestrator, and then finally on the right-hand side, we are initially connecting to the vector store, getting the data. Actually, even before that, based on the type of input, we are tweaking the system prompt a bit, right, for each case. And then we are also, after getting the response from the vector store, we are passing it to the LLM for a curated JSON format, like however we, for each type it has been configured. And then we are logging everything in Langsmith. So basically, whatever the things are coming for traceability, right? And then for some of these workflows, we have online evals also integrated that Shruti can talk a little bit more. Yeah.
Awesome. So demo time. We've looked into what all of this looks like in architecture. Let's see what this looks like in practice. So this is the first use case of a security support chatbot. So this basically if you have any questions that need to be answered as per the company's policy and standard guidelines, like how do I do X at Adobe? How do I reach out to the security champion of product Y? So for those kinds of questions, we have the chatbot. Again, in the backend, this is all the same vector store, which is pulling out the information and providing it to you. Next, we have the threat remediation guidance on the shift left side of the SDLC. Like Chandrani mentioned, we have an automated AI threat modeling engine. So once it identifies the threats, it then makes a call to our service and gets the Adobe-specific recommendations or security guidance to mitigate those threats. Then on the shift right side, when we have vulnerabilities, how do we fix them? We want to provide consistent guidance across all stages of SDLC. So here, the vulnerability ticketing and triaging workflow, when they get a finding, they then again make a call to our service. They provide us with all of the vulnerability and exploit details. We take that, we provide the fixes, and also we provide what is the Adobe specific recommendation. So how would you go about, how do we recommend you go about fixing this vulnerability? One important thing to note here is that we not only provide the short-term fix, but we also provide long-term fixes. So what if you're seeing not just a one-off vulnerability, but multiple vulnerabilities that belong to the same class? So for that, we provide long-term fixes as well that can guide the engineering teams on more secure by default changes as needed. And then, of course, since the last year, everybody's been vibe coding and using a lot of AI assistants to code. So that led us to think this is even further left than threat modeling, right? So how do we provide the same guidance again to developers as they're in their flow writing the code? So that's where we build the MCP server. And let me actually jump to the demo. I don't, oops. Okay, I'm sorry, this is really small, glitches, but yeah, so this is a demo wherein I'm in Cursor, and here we have the MCP server, which is called Adobe Security Guidance. I apologize, this is all really small, but we have this MCP server, and then it has a tool called Adobe Security Guidance, which then makes a call. So since we are running into demo issues, I'll just walk you through what this looks like. So as you're writing code, you can then say, okay, how do I fix SQL injection? Put that in your chat, and then the cursor, this is cursor, so cursor agent, but this can work with any coding agent. The coding agent is connected to our MCP server. It recognizes that it is connected to an Adobe security guidance tool. So it then makes a call to the tool, pulls the relevant security guidance, and then that guidance is then formatted, pretty printed, and then it comes out in the chat itself in an in-ID experience. I really apologize. I don't know what's going on with the demo, but I think it's a network issue. Oops, okay. Okay, I really apologize about this, but we also wanted to show a similar Slack workflow wherein we had the same query, and basically the same query, whether you're asking from the IDE or from Slack or wherever, we are providing the same guidance. So irrespective of where you are in the SDLC process, where the developer is, what time, what information they need, we are providing it to them as and when they need it. Okay, so I will wrap up over here. Some of the challenges and lessons learned. So Chandrani talked a little bit about evals. One of the most important things about building AI systems that you can have in production is evals. It is time consuming. It is manual, but it is what enables you to have things in production and ensure high quality responses. For us as well, it was, again, time consuming, a very laborious task to have all of the evals, golden data set in place. But again, that is one of the most enabling factors about how we've built this and how we've scaled this. Second is doc freshness. Making sure that we have the most up-to-date docs is a challenge. Right now, we have a shared responsibility model wherein if we find out through our workflows, through our evals workflows, that a doc needs to be updated, we reach out to the document owners. The other aspect is if document owners have an update, they come and reach out to us so that we have the most updated docs in our vector store. The peer review aspect in the doc ingestion workflow is also, it can be a bottleneck when we want to quickly and efficiently ingest docs at scale. But at the same time, this is a trade-off because this aspect allows us to maintain the high quality of documents that we are ingesting. And finally, this entire field is evolving at a breakneck speed. So keeping up with the emerging tech has been important as well. When we built the V1 version of the vector store, the RAG, we did all of the processing by ourselves, like document chunking, vectorization, everything. At that time, LLMs couldn't even take multimodal input. From that, now we have multiple vector store vendors that you just upload files and they take care of everything for you. So just evolving and keeping up to date with what's happening in what's evolving in the tech so that you are able to use the latest, greatest state of the art as you build these systems. So key takeaways from our session. AI is useful, AI boosts productivity, but context is king. So the more organization-specific context you're able to provide to these models, the more useful you can make these systems. We were able to build this centralized guidance that has enabled us to provide consistent security. Security guidance, and we've been able to democratize this. So as a developer, whenever, wherever you need it, you're able to get the same consistent vetted guidance. And finally, evals. Evals is what will turn your AI experiments into production systems. With that, I want to make a quick shout out to the team. This was certainly not a two-person project. We have an entire team building all of this plus lots more. So I want to make a quick shout out to the entire team. And with that, we are at time. And thank you for joining us for our talk. And yeah, we'll open up for questions.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, audience questions? I'll start with one from Slack. You talked a little bit about developing sort of threat models for your team, various threat models and products. Like, tell me a little bit about the threat models that you built sort of and distributed through this tool.
Yeah, so for the automated threat modeling, there is basically a separate team who has developed that, like, the wiki page needs to be in a specific format. It parses that particular page and gives out the threat. So where we come in is when the threat has been generated, it gives out the Adobe specific recommendations as well. So there it integrates our platform and we are able to provide that guidance. Yeah.
Cool, thank you. One over here.
Thank you so much for your presentation. So with a lot of these tools that we've seen emerge and develop that are shifting left into the IDE, how have you figured out a way to enforce the use of those tools? So like even your MCP server that's providing recommendations around architecture, how do you ensure there's consistent configuration across all your developers that they're actually consuming that MCP?
Yeah. So there is actually another big project going on within our team wherein we have developed an extension. Currently, Cursor is used the most, but then other IDs are also coming in. So the extension is for Cursor. So once you develop that extension, all these MCP configs, Cursor rules comes by default once you sign in. So that's how.
Yeah, to add to that, we have done a lot of road shows about building these capabilities and sharing that with developers. And what we've found is that when you make security 0 calorie and seamless for developers, they will get on board and they will want to do the right thing. We have had engineering teams come to us and say, hey, we love this, we want to use this. So I think there's the human aspect over there as well.
We've got one over here, and I think that'll...
So yeah, following up on that question, have you tried also injecting these as like agent rules.md files or treating these as skills? And if so, how did that actually go?
Yeah. So yes, we have added these as rules, MD files. We have been playing around with skills as well. Again, the extension is what we've been using to roll these out to everybody so that once you install the extension, you just have it in your IDE. We did some preliminary testing of these security rules and skills. And in our testing, we found that they were helpful in reducing vulnerabilities in code by a good 70% or so. Like even foundational rules did really well.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.